What are you doing now?
I'm at work at the office. I'll call you back.
Wait a moment. Are you working?
Of course. I'm busy here. Don't bother me with trivial things.
With that, he unilaterally hung up the phone. I knew his words were lies. It happened just 10 minutes ago. Huh? That was. Brought in on an ambulance was my sister, whom I had been estranged from for years. What surprised me even more was seeing my husband beside her. I acted immediately. Hello? Is this my mother-in-law?
A rare phone call, isn't it?
I know you're at work right now, but... Actually, I immediately called both my in-laws and my parents. The reason, of course, was to have them come here. What was about to unfold was more than just a hectic situation. I'm Emma, a 34-year-old nurse working in obstetrics. My husband, Liam, is currently on assignment in the countryside, but he was supposed to be coming back soon. Initially, we had considered moving together, but due to work commitments, we had to abandon that plan. You're coming back next week, right? Husband.
Yeah. I think it'll be next Saturday.
Got it. How many years has it been?
About 3 years, I guess. It's been a while, huh?
I'll prepare a feast for that day. As we were having that conversation, I felt like I heard a voice from behind him. For some reason, it bothered me, so I asked him. Do you hear something?
Huh? A voice? Oh. Maybe it's because the walls in this room are thin. You can hear voices quite well from next door.
I see.
Sorry. I have to get up early tomorrow, so I'll hang up now.
With that, he hung up. I wanted to talk a little longer, but I felt it would be selfish to ask for more. From then on, I was filled with the desire to see him as soon as possible. And finally, that day came. Welcome back.
Hey. I'm back.
Is something wrong? As I welcomed his back, I could tell he was quite tired.
Just feeling tired. I did prepare dinner, though.
I'm so hungry.
I want to eat, but...
Tomorrow is Sunday, so you can rest today.
Sorry. I'll rest first today.
I couldn't push my tired him any further. At that time, I thought his fatigue was due to the relief of returning from his assignment. After confirming that he had gone to bed and I was alone in the living room cleaning up, I received a phone call. Hello?
Emma. Have you heard about Olivia?
Olivia? I haven't heard anything. Since that day, we haven't even been in touch. Olivia is my sister, who is 3 years younger than me. My sister, who used to live at home, had a big fight with our parents and left 2 years ago, and we haven't been in contact since. So she contacted you? Mother.
No. Someone saw her. Anne.
I was stunned, with my mouth agape, as I listened to my mom's words. Is that true?
I haven't seen it directly, but...
I see. Thank you for letting me know. If I find out anything from my side, I'll call you. After hanging up the phone, I let out a deep sigh. Then my husband came from the bedroom.
What's with that look?
Are you not going to sleep?
Nah, I woke up for some reason, haha. Did something happen?
I just got a call from Mom, and it was about Olivia.
Olivia, your sister.
Yeah. She left home 2 years ago. He shouldn't have known my sister. We started dating after she left home. Once again, I noticed something strange about him. Since the mention of her, he hadn't looked at me once. It's a habit he has when he's lying. But he seems unaware of it.
And then?
Mom says she seems to be pregnant.
Ha. Pregnant?
Despite it not being his concern, he seemed quite surprised. Moreover, someone Mom knows saw her at the station. I observed him. He seemed visibly flustered. Could it be that you know something? I asked him. Honestly, it was a bit of a gamble, but I couldn't shake off my curiosity.
That's ridiculous. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Don't ever ask me such nonsense again.
With that, he went back to the bedroom. I didn't expect him to be so angry, but doubts about whether he knew something wouldn't leave my mind. After that, the topic of my sister became taboo with him. I tried not to dwell too deeply on it. Since it seems we'll have a long weekend next time, want to go somewhere for a change? It had been about a month since he returned.
I'd like to, but I have work that day too.
Isn't it always the case lately?
I've been talking to my boss about it, but it's not going smoothly.
I see.
Sorry.
Apologizing like that, he left me speechless. Despite feeling suspicious, I believed he was truly busy. However, one night, I noticed a change in him who returned home late as usual. Did you put on perfume or something?
Ha. Perfume? I didn't put on anything like that.
There's a sweet smell or something. Immediately, he took off his suit and started checking himself.
I'm not smelling anything though.
Is that so? Then maybe it's my mistake. After my husband went to sleep, I checked his suit again. I couldn't shake off my curiosity. Sure enough. This is women's perfume, right? The possibility of him cheating became increasingly realistic. However, I felt it was dangerous to confront him directly with mere suspicions and started thinking about how to gather evidence. While pondering this on my way home. Isn't that Liam? I witnessed a man walking arm in arm with a woman who resembled my husband. Instinctively, I grabbed my phone. Hello? Liam?
What's up?
I was wondering where you are right now.
I'm still at the office, but sorry, I'm a bit busy at the moment.
Oh, wait. What time are you planning to come home today?
I'm planning to be home before the date changes. It's fine if you go to bed first.
As he tried to hang up, I heard someone whispering beside him, just like before. At this point, I was convinced it wasn't just a coincidence. And at that moment, my sister's face flashed before me. That night, I saw Olivia the other day.
Is that so?
Once again, he didn't look at me. And she asked about you.
Ha. Me? Why would she?
I don't know why, but I let her know you're doing well.
I see.
He seemed flustered, his voice rising. Honestly, this was something I didn't want to consider. If that were true, it remained a mystery how and where they had met. And just as I was considering hiring a detective to investigate, the incident occurred. As usual, when I arrived at work, the staff were bustling around. What's going on?
A pregnant woman in labor is being brought in by an ambulance.
Can I help too?
Thanks. But we've got it covered.
As I saw the pregnant woman being brought in, I was left speechless. Unable to stay still, I immediately made a call to a certain person. What are you doing now?
I'm at work at the office. I'll call you back.
Wait a moment. Are you working? Wait a moment. Are you working?
Of course. I'm busy here. Don't bother me with trivial things.
With that, he unilaterally hung up the phone. I knew his words were lies. It happened just 10 minutes ago. Huh? That was... What surprised me even more was seeing my husband beside her. I immediately took action. Hello? How are you, mother-in-law?
It's rare to receive a call from you during work hours.
I'm actually at work right now. But... I quickly made calls to both sets of parents. The reason, of course, is to ask you to come here.
Is that true?
Yes, I saw it with my own eyes.
Understood. I'll come right away.
Thank you very much. With that, I obtained the cooperation of my in-laws. Now I just needed approval from my parents. I need you to come to the hospital right away.
Hospital. Did something happen?
Not exactly. Olivia came to our hospital.
Your workplace is an obstetrics department, right? Could it be?
That's right, and that's exactly why I need you to come. There are other things to discuss as well. After a short pause, my mom agreed to come immediately.
Dad will come with me right away too.
Yeah, I'll be waiting. Now there was no escape for the two of them. Fortunately, both sets of parents didn't live too far away, so within 30 minutes, both sets of parents arrived. This way to the patient room. He still hadn't come out of the room where Olivia would be. I opened the door silently. There, I saw him embracing my sister, celebrating the birth. And when they noticed us, he turned around. Can you explain what's going on here?
Why are you here?
Why? Because I work here. He stared straight at me, frozen. He seemed unable to fully comprehend the shock. Then his mom spoke to him.
Liam, what are you doing here?
No, this is not what it looks like. I just happened to find this person collapsed outside while I was walking.
Everyone present surely thought if he was going to lie, he could have come up with a better one. Do you think such a lie will work?
This is not what you think.
It's so obvious. Right, Olivia?
Sis?
She weakly responded.
Could it be Olivia and Liam?
Liam. How are you going to take responsibility for this?
I...
There's no excuse, is there? You better start being honest. Watching their conversation, I was surprisingly calm. I could have been angrier at him, but then I glanced at the newborn baby. While I had anger and resentment towards the two of them, the baby was innocent. Liam, let's break up.
What are you talking about?
I said it to him. My parents were surprised by my sudden statement, but I continued. Of course, it wasn't a joke. I haven't forgiven either of you, but this child is innocent.
Is that okay?
Of course. But both of you will have to take responsibility properly. And I'll be demanding compensation for this. Then my mother-in-law made a suggestion.
Then how about we take care of the child until all compensation is paid?
That's a good idea. It might be good until both of them properly reflect on what they did.
I agree with that. However, there was someone who disagreed with the suggestion.
Huh? Don't be ridiculous. This child is mine and Liam's. Don't do anything arbitrary.
I thought it was a completely inappropriate thing to say at this point. Even though I had backed off from the situation, she clearly didn't understand anything. You've done so much. Do you understand that?
What? I love him more than you do.
Then she began to talk about her encounter with him. It seemed that she had gotten involved with him immediately after leaving home. When she went to visit her parents' house because she had forgotten something. It was at that moment when I happened to bring him to visit my parents' house, and she fell in love with him at first sight. She then revealed how she approached him. I see. And then?
Huh?
I can fully understand her feelings towards him. But what you both did cannot be forgiven. He had already given up on arguing and kept his head down.
Sis, just get out of here already.
I don't need to be told twice. Let's go. When I was about to leave the hospital room after saying this, my dad said a few words.
It's unfortunate, but we won't support you in any way.
Of course, neither will we. You're no longer our son.
Wait a minute. That's not fair.
I didn't raise you to be a man who just makes excuses.
And the divorce papers are at home. Make sure you submit them properly. With that, we left the hospital. When I explained the situation to my boss, I was allowed to leave work early today. And on the way home.
Are you sure about what you did?
Of course. We didn't have a child of our own.
If Emma says so.
I've completely come to terms with it. I replied with a wry smile. Perhaps my mom understood my feelings, as she didn't say anything more. I immediately went to the city office to get the divorce papers. I filled out the divorce papers that day and returned to my parents' house. It feels like it's been a while since I've been home.
You can stay as long as you like.
I'm planning to be home before the date changes. It's fine if you go to bed first.
When I checked my phone, there were multiple missed calls from my husband, but I decided to ignore them. However, there were repeated calls afterward, so I decided to answer.
You finally picked up.
What do you want?
I want to talk to you properly again. So, will you come back?
Of course, I had no intention of going back there. I'm not coming back there. If you want to talk to me, make sure you atone for your sins first. I'm going to see a lawyer from now on.
Is this about the compensation you mentioned at the hospital? Are you serious?
Don't ask such obvious questions. Apologies won't cut it. You and Olivia better work hard to pay up. I hung up without waiting for his reply. And I also contacted his company. As a result, the company promised to consider some form of punishment. In the end, the divorce was finalized after a month, and compensation was demanded.
Hey! What did you tell the company?
Oh, that. I just reported that one of your employees was doing something outrageous.
Because of you, I've been transferred to a remote area.
Well, that's good. You're used to being away from home because of your job, right?
How could you?
Well, this is just karma, isn't it? In the end, my ex-husband and my sister ended up going to a remote area together. And Olivia came to visit my parents' house. So, what are you doing here?
I came today to ask a favor. I want you to take care of my baby. His name is William.
It's a bit too sudden for you to come and ask that, isn't it? I wondered what she was suddenly talking about, but then I remembered what happened at the hospital. She had said she didn't want to be separated, but what could have caused such a change of heart? I thought you didn't want to be separated.
At that time, I thought so. But now, I have to pay compensation, and if I want to work, I don't have the confidence to take care of him.
I sighed in exasperation. While it might be difficult to work hard to pay compensation, after all the fuss she made, it's surprising how easily she's giving up her child. Understood. In that case, we'll take responsibility and look after the child.
Thank you so much.
It's no big deal. As long as you pay up properly. She seemed like she wanted to say something back. Her clenched fist seemed to be tight with tension. Is this okay then? If so, then go back home soon. She left without saying anything more.
It turned out like this, huh?
Did you perhaps see it coming?
I was curious.
It seems she had been observing the situation since Olivia's visit. If that's the case, you could have come out.
If I had left, things would have gotten more complicated, wouldn't they? And after all that fuss.
But maybe it's good for this child.
That's right. We don't know what would have happened if things had stayed the same.
We have to be here for this child. When I reported the situation to my workplace, they graciously gave me some time off. I'll enjoy spending time with my nephew for a while. I don't know if those two will come to take this child back. Oh. Did you just smile?
Wow, he did.
We have to protect this smile. I don't know what will happen to those two in the future, but I've once again pledged to protect this child properly. How was this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Becoming a nurse, a childhood dream, I realized that over 40 years had passed. Upon reaching retirement age, I was hired as a part-time nurse at a new hospital, where even young nurses and doctors relied on me.
Hey, you old hag acting all high and mighty towards the doctors. Useless old hag, strutting around the hospital like you own the place. You're just a nuisance. Retire ASAP.
Young elite Dr. Kevin cornered me with such words. My name is Mary. As a child, I was often sick, going in and out of hospitals. The kindness of the nurses who took care of me stayed with me, and I decided to become a nurse myself someday. When I grew up and my health improved, I pursued a nursing degree at university and finally achieved my dream of becoming a nurse. Lost in my work, over 40 years had passed. Nursing is tough, with long hours and responsibility for patients' lives, so naturally, there were many hardships. But seeing the smiles of patients leaving the hospital made me determined to keep going, no matter how tough it got. Supported by my husband and children, I made it until retirement age, but I wanted to continue working, so I applied for a part-time position as a temporary nurse. My children were already independent, and my husband encouraged me to pursue what I loved, so I decided to take his words to heart. Fortunately, the hospital where I was newly hired as a part-time nurse was the best place where I could utilize my knowledge and experience. Young nurses and doctors relied on me, and I found myself playing the role of a lubricant within the group before I knew it. However, there was one young elite doctor, Kevin, who seemed to dislike me for some reason. Despite greetings, he ignored me and often resorted to childish harassment. "Good morning, Dr. Kevin."
Oof.
Feeling down about Kevin's attitude at the nurse station, a colleague comforted me. Kevin ignored me again. Did I do something wrong?
It's okay, just leave it. That guy might have good skills, but being unable to communicate with others makes him the worst kind of doctor.
One day, out of the blue, Kevin came up to me and demanded that I quit my job. That day, Kevin seemed unusually moody. Had he made a mistake? Had a patient said something he didn't like? As I watched him childishly hit hospital equipment, I lightly reprimanded him. "Dr. Kevin, please control your temper. It's pitiful to take it out on equipment." Kevin glared at me and muttered under his breath.
What? Some old hag acting all high and mighty towards the doctors.
I didn't want to escalate the situation. As I pretended not to hear Kevin, he raised his voice and continued to berate me.
Hey, can't you hear me, old hag? Maybe your ears are too old. You're just a nuisance. Retire quickly.
I was astonished. It was the first time someone had spoken to me like this face to face. He must be really unhappy about something. Before my anger could rise, I found myself wide-eyed and open-mouthed in surprise. Kevin continued to escalate his tone.
Useless old hag, strutting around the hospital like you own the place. You're just a nuisance. Retire ASAP.
With that, Kevin kicked over a nearby trash can, scattering its contents on the floor. I could have retaliated against such childish complaints in many ways. But men like Kevin, once angered, could be dangerous. Besides, even if I left this hospital, there would be plenty of patients waiting for me elsewhere. Kevin was still glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. Okay. With just that, I started writing my resignation letter on a piece of stationery from the drawer.
That's right, old hag. About time you understood.
Seeing Kevin satisfied as he watched me hastily write my resignation, he turned and left. I put the resignation letter in an envelope and took it to the director's office. Since the director was not there, I left it on his desk. Tomorrow was my day off. On my next working day, I would take my belongings from the locker. I needed to greet the patients I was in charge of. There were still things I had left undone at this hospital, but I had no regrets because I always gave my all to my work. When we work for a long time, there are inevitably people like Kevin whom we just can't get along with. It's better to leave a place where such people are present as soon as possible. I thought I could work at any new place if I wanted to. I still had confidence in my skills and experience. So I'll be fine. Feeling strangely refreshed, I left the hospital at night. The next morning, while watching TV with my husband in the living room, I received a call. Looking at the display of my smartphone, it was the director. Thinking something might have happened to a patient, I hurriedly answered the phone. "Director, is everything okay?" The director was in a panic, and as soon as I answered the phone, he burst into tears. "Director, I won't understand if you cry. Please calm down." When I urged him, the director finally started.
"Mary, the hospital is in big trouble right now. Please don't quit."
"What's going on?" The director's story went like this. One of the other night shift nurses must have noticed the resignation letter I placed on the director's desk. Overnight, rumors spread among the nurses that I was resigning. The nurses began to say one by one,
"If Mary leaves, we'll leave too."
Except for emergency patient care, the nurses went on a strike. Outpatient care was in complete chaos, and panicked patients seemed on the verge of rioting outside the hospital. This was the first time such a thing had happened since the hospital opened, and the director himself was at his limit, unable to respond.
"We're in big trouble if we can't get you back, Mary."
The director was crying, and he continued.
"What's the cause? Is it the treatment? The environment? Anything, please tell me."
I started feeling sorry for the director. I was worried about the patients, and I wanted to rush to the hospital right away, but I held myself back and explained what Kevin had said to me last night to the director. The director was surprised, but he must have somehow sensed Kevin's dislike towards me. He quickly agreed.
"I'm sorry for what happened. I'll talk to Dr. Kevin severely about this. Can you please come back?"
"No, I want Dr. Kevin to apologize to me directly. If he does that, I'll reconsider."
"Understood. It's really tough. Mary, please come help us right away."
After the director begged me through tears, I decided to go to the hospital. But I had one condition. Just give me a chance to talk to Dr. Kevin.
"Of course. You can use the director's office for anything you need."
After hanging up with the director, I hurried to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, I was astonished. There was a huge crowd in the nurse station that I had never seen before. Veteran nurses were loudly shouting something in the center of it all. At the center was Kevin, trembling alone. The director probably explained the situation between me and Kevin to the nurses beforehand. The nurses, unable to bear it any longer, seemed to have called Kevin to the nurse station.
"Dr. Kevin, go apologize right away and convince Mary."
That's right. I can't believe Mary has to quit because of you.
"You should quit."
Eventually, they all chorused, "You should quit." Kevin, young and inexperienced, had probably never been cornered like this by angry women before. He had been silent, with a tense face, all this time. Feeling sorry for Kevin, I decided to intervene and help him. "I'm sorry, everyone, for causing you trouble."
"Mary."
I entered the group of nurses and addressed Kevin, who was frozen like a scolded child. "Come on, Dr. Kevin, let's go."
Where to?
"To the director's office." Following the director's instructions, I dragged Kevin to the director's office. In the director's office, the director was waiting for me, crying. I instructed Kevin to explain the situation properly from his own mouth. I thought it might take some time, but Kevin must have been scared by the nurse's scolding. He unexpectedly, meekly, and honestly explained what happened last night to me in a low voice. He seemed to have given up. Having heard the whole story, the director was once again exasperated.
What's that? Are you a child?
The director had high expectations for Kevin from the beginning. Kevin was the youngest and most skilled elite doctor. However, because of this, the director had turned a blind eye to his misconduct and attitude, and had spoiled him too much.
So I think half of it is my fault. I'm really sorry, Mary.
Saying that, the director apologized to me. Seeing this, Kevin hastily followed suit and apologized to me in a voice that was barely audible to me.
Sorry.
I teased him a little. What? I couldn't hear you, Kevin, because I'm old.
Sorry.
Although Kevin had a pride as high as Mount Everest, it was rare, or rather, it was the first time, for him to bow his head to someone. He had dead fish eyes and didn't seem to be putting his heart into it at all, but I decided to accept his apology for now. Dr. Kevin, I'll forgive you this time. However, I'll work on straightening out your twisted character and spirit from now on, so be prepared. The director, overhearing my words, quickly chimed in.
So, Mary, will you stay at this hospital from now on?
Yes, if that's the case, I'll tell everyone at the nurse station to disperse and return to their posts.
Thank you, Mary. Dr. Kevin, be sure to thank her too.
Thus, Kevin was forced by the director to bow his head again. And so, I decided to stay at this hospital. Half a year had passed since then in the blink of an eye. Perhaps my persistent guidance had paid off, as Kevin's attitude gradually softened. He seemed to have learned from me how to interact with and care for my patients in his own way. Now, he has become a well-respected doctor with a good reputation among patients, and he continues to work, accepted by the nurses, although sometimes teased about that incident. However, he still seemed a little uncomfortable around me, and he never won against me. Even though I tried to speak to him kindly. Dr. Kevin.
Ha! Yes, what is it?
He always seemed nervous like this. I brought some snacks, so let's make some coffee and eat together. Come on, sit here with us.
Okay.
But back when Kevin just disliked me, I never imagined a day when we would sit together with him and the nurses, eating snacks. Working for a long time, such things happen, and that's why this job is interesting after all. Mary, 65 years old. I'll continue to work as an active nurse. The nurses were delighted at my words. However, Kevin alone was looking up at the ceiling. How was today's story? Please also consider subscribing to the channel. Well then, let's meet again in the next video.